Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. We've got a mixed bag for you today. I'm going to begin with a little moment of royal refreshment to cleanse our palates, because then we will have to rake over the mucky and murky business involving Meghan Markle and her stands. Most undesirable creatures they are, but we are going to have to look at it. And then a little bit more royalty, and then a nice cosy tip jar corner. And at the end of Tip Jar Corner, I will read a poem and provide a montage for those of you who adore trees, because we're big fans of the tree on the River broadcast, aren't we, my dear old fruits? So here we go, and we begin on this historic occasion, this historic day, because it was the Entente Cordiale, where French and British troops swapped roles in the changing of the guard ceremonies outside of the palaces of each other's head of state, in an unprecedented move to celebrate 120 years since the signing of the Entente Cordiale. The Entente Cordiale was a series of agreements signed by France and the United Kingdom in 1904, and this was not a formal alliance between the two countries, but it served as a basis for a stronger Anglo-French relationship. And household troops have guarded the sovereign and the royal palaces since 1660, and in London the ceremony was observed by the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Here they are. Edward and Sophie inspected 32 members of the 1st and 2nd Infantry Regiments of the Garde Républicain and 40 guardsmen from the Scots Guards lined up opposite their French counterparts. Isn't it cosy? The event marks the first time a country from outside the Commonwealth has taken part in the changing of the guards on the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. And our golden trophy, Duchess Sophie, was looking absolutely divine in a Max Mara custody coat in beige with a bow detail midi dress by Roland Mouret. Her Strathbury box crescent bag was in a shade of duck egg blue, and she adorned herself with blue gems, which were very pretty and caught the light, as did her magnificent bust. Most impressive. But now we are going to turn to the case of Jonathan Perkins, to illustrate to you all the kind of characters that we are dealing with, because whenever we discuss the hardcore fans of the Harkles, I tell you over and over again that we are talking about a very special type of person. A Fruit Loop, a fruit cake, that type of fruit. That is what we are talking about here. Jonathan Perkins, 37 years old he is. The mentality doesn't sound a day over. 13 maybe at a push, and that's an insult to 13-year-olds. 37 years old. This man-child leads the UCLA Race and Equity Unit in the Office of Equity, Diversity and Inclusion. That sounds like a barrel of laughs, doesn't it? You're probably going to find one of those popping up at Hogwarts in a few years if Daniel Radcliffe gets his way. But, yes, Director of Race and Equity. EDI, this is what it's all being known as at the moment, isn't it? Equity, Diversity, Inclusion. EDI, this is what they're branding onto everybody at the moment. Oh, what fun. How utterly joyless. And by the way, UCLA is the #1 ranked public university in the States, I hear tell. Well, this Jonathan Perkins has been tasked with upholding dignity and fostering understanding, compassion and inclusiveness at UCLA. It actually sounds rather like a job listing for the Church of England at this moment in time, under Justin Welby. And it turns out that this chap is a conspiracy theorist extraordinaire, because he's very fond of telling his twits. Is that what they're called? People that engage on Twitter, presumably. Twits or twats. He's got over 30,000 of these twits, and he's been telling them on his private account. I personally do not believe Kate Middleton had or has cancer. I hope you're right, my dear. But, you know, the intimation is that she's lying about the current state of affairs. Yes, really. Yes, really. He tells us he's a cancer survivor, and he's been asking, what if she's in a coma or dead? not taking anything the palace tell us at face value. King Chuck and Kate do not deserve my respect, he says, really and truly wondering if Kate is still alive. This is a 37-year-old professional we are talking about. And I use professional because he is receiving a professional salary. Wait for it, wait for it. $126,000 salary this chap is on. $126,000, which is, for those of you in the kingdom, is around about £100,000, just shy of. Really? This is what happened in the wake of everything that went on during the pandemic and after it, and the Black Lives Matter movement and all of that. I would be interested to know what the salary was before that era. Could be wrong, might be being a little bit cynical there, but you see them popping up all over the place, don't you? In the wake of all this EDI wheeze. It's a wheeze, it's a nonsense on stilts. But he also suggests that the royal family are using the cancer card to silence speculation. As you know, I'm a believer in freedom of speech, and if this is his supposition, if this is his hunch, then he has the right to share it. But it does shed a light on what is going on in university campuses up and down the states as well as the kingdom and far beyond, doesn't it? It sheds a light on the kind of characters, first of all, that apply for these roles, then who get these roles, and then who are hiring for the roles and deciding on them and deciding on the salary for these type of characters. I don't mean to besmirch every single director of race and equality and inclusion worldwide, but there seems to be a general theme running, doesn't it? This is an American Princess Meghan Markle's Stan account. He proudly tells us, well, he's allowed to pick his team, that's fine. But sometimes a picture paints 1,000 words, doesn't it, my dear? And it's wonderfully useful to shine a spotlight on what we are dealing with here when we talk about Harkle fans and Meghan stans. This is what we're dealing with. I don't need to say anything, do I, my dear? I don't need to debase myself or stoop to conquer, because the pictures paint 1,000 words. And those words ain't pretty. And actually, I don't know if this has struck anybody else, but they could be twins. They could be twins. For a moment I had to do a double take, because if you throw a wig on this creature, you've got Meghan Markle, haven't you? Which I'm sure will delight this character, but it's quite uncanny. I might try and rustle up a few photographs that I've doctored, I've done a Kate Middleton, and throw on a wig and see if my hunch is correct, that this looks like it could have been extrapolated from the gene pool of Meghan Markle. A Markle ragland creation. Oh, put him in a wig, and there have you got the Duchess of not muchness. Well, it seems he has issues, or so the press tell us. He is a lawyer that worked at Harvard, actually. And back in 2011, he claimed that he'd been racially profiled by campus police. He wrote to the student newspaper about it. Oh, he was vociferous, but then later he reneged on these claims, and he said, I wrote the article to bring attention to the topic of police misconduct. The events in the article did not occur. The Jussie Smollett of EDI, it seems. However, then again he backtracked again later on, claiming that the FBI pressured him into recanting those accusations. Go figure, go figure. $126,000 for this gentleman's expertise, and I use both gentleman and expertise in the loosest sense of those words. The university spokesman has gone on to say that statements made on his personal social media accounts don't reflect the views of the university, but they are not responding to demands to sack him for slagging off Kate in such an immature way. But these are the characters we are talking about, my dear. These are the Fruit Loops and the fruit cakes on the fuzzy end of the lollipop. And isn't it illuminating and enlightening that every time they pop up, we can see exactly what they are without much explanation required. And actually, it's a blessed relief that they ain't batting on the same team as me. Do you know what I mean, my dear? A blessed relief. They can keep to their standing for the Harkledom. And I'm going to return to the subject of Meghan in a moment, just briefly. But first of all, let's look over this letter from Queen Camilla. You might recall that Adam Simpson York wrote to Queen Camilla last year and he received a personal reply. Do you remember this? We discussed it. This is after he sent the only known photograph of Queen Camilla's great-great-grandmother, Edrica Faulkner. And he had found it on eBay for $9.95. This is a sort of hobby of this chap's. He rustles through eBay. He spends hours on eBay looking for old photographs and scouring it for treasures. And then he researches their modern day relatives to see if he can sort of hook them up with their past and their destiny and send on the photographs, this kind of thing. He's a postman by trade, but this is what he does in his spare time. Anyway, he found these photographs last year for 10 quid and he sent them off to the Queen and got a reply. And he's been at it again and he's made another discovery, unearthing more photographs, and he received another letter of thanks from Queen Camilla. Isn't it very nice? Signed by the Queen. This time it was a Victorian cabinet card that he found, a cabinet card photograph rather, of Susan Mary Keppel, a sister of Camilla's great-grandfather George Keppel. We all have known and heard about the Keppels, haven't we, my dear? And I can see the likeness, can't you? I can see the likeness in everything, really, but the mouth, the nose, the expression in the eyes, I can see it. Chuck a wig on that and you've got Camilla. Oh, and a cigarette hanging out the corner of the mouth and the king on the other side of the mouth. So, yes, I can see it. I can certainly see it, my dear. So I thought that was very nice and rather sweet. What wasn't quite so sweet and in all honesty was rather sour was Meghan's visit to a hospital in LA. Although if it cheered up the children, that's fine by me, my dear. Who would want to deprive children of a happy moment? But I can't imagine that they really got that much of a thrill out of it. Because she was reading to them again. Ugh, it's the last thing one wants to hear, isn't it? Please stop the boredom, the self-indulgence. But if she's raising funds, if she's doing it for a good cause, fair enough, my dear. She wore Oscar de la Renta to this literally healing session, so they call it. Oscar de la Renta, her silk chiffon landscape shirt dress, which makes her legs look as if they are tangled up in seaweed and pondweed, to my eyes. The shoes were Aquazura Love Affair flats, and if you ask me, they look like a Wicked Witch of the East sort of affair. And that dress, by the way, we've seen it before in moody black and white on one of their official photographs. But it puts me in mind, to be quite honest with you, my dear, of the Lady of Shalott after her boat capsized. She read Rosie Revere, Engineer, one of her favourites apparently, and she's read it before. Lucky us, lucky us. And she read Pete the Cat and I Saw a Cat. Yes. We can see a cat, can't we, as well, my dear? A cat burglar, a cat that got the cream and thinks they're going to get away with it. And this was all part of the Make March Matter fundraising campaign. Oh, please, spare us this contrivance. Spare us this contrivance. As for regal matters, the Princess Royal was at Livability Newcourt Place, a residential centre for 24 adults with physical and learning disabilities. There you go, there you go. This is how to do it. This was at the 180-year anniversary celebration where they gathered to meet their patron, Anne. Her Royal Highness was given a tour and demonstration of the enhanced smart technology, increasing independence for residents, in hues of muted blues, with black leather accessories and her kinky boots. There was an occasional flash of her elegant smile, and everybody there clamoured to sing her praises. Welcome to Tip Jar Corner, my dears. I've added a little dab more glitter to the lids and to the lips to give a little bit more razzle dazzle, my dear. Why not? Why not? I love the sequins, and I know there's lots of magpies among you as well, my dears. Got to give it the old pizzazz, haven't you, once in a while? Old pizzazz and sequins and glitter and diamante should not just be reserved for cocktail parties or for crimbo the office do at work. Oh, I must buy my sequin dress for my one Christmas party on the 12th of December. How terrible, my dear. Sequins are meant for Monday morning. I shuffled off to the shops, the supermarket, just this morning and yesterday in sequins. And it cheers people up. It's the old razzle dazzle, my dear, the old razzle dazzle. On with Tip Jar Corner, enough of this nonsense. Candlestick holders are the first items that I wanted to show you. Candlestick holders, £5 a pair. And on the base it says that these are from Past Times. Oh, we've had something from Past Times before, haven't we? That blue enamel brooch that I've got, a sort of blue rose, that was Past Times, and a similar blue to this. Yes, made in China. Well, I don't think it's going to turn up trumps on Antiques Roadshow, but it'll do for the scenery, won't it, my dear? I can put some pretty candles in them. I think they'll be perfect for late spring, I think. And I can bring them to the broadcast, but I think they're divine. I love the column with its sort of diagonal cushion effect in gold there, that cushioned grid. I like the cups and the pedestals of white with flowers of oranges and lemons, red and blue. And actually I'm going through a phase at the moment of loving this sort of blue paired with pink. A sort of fondant fancy confection, if you will. I blame it on that obsession that Barbara Cartland gave me for turquoise and coral. It's a variation on that, but I'm going through an obsession with blue and pink, and something turned up on Vinteria the other day, and I'm going to flash it up on the screen because it's just so delicious, my dear. It's going for £12,000, this set of tapestry sofas and chairs. Isn't it just divine? Well, I know it won't be to everybody's taste, but it's gorgeous. Wonderful for the boudoir, the powder room, by the balcony. Don't you love the colourways? Delicious, delicious. I've been lusting after it for some time now in my fairy tale fantasy. But I'm going to have to settle for the cheap old tat that I find at the charity shops. The charity shops and the high street and the vintage stalls, including these pinkies. These pinkies, they were just from the high street, my dear. These shocking pink meteors with blazing hearts of fuchsia, ruby, and tails of hot raspberry jam. Raspberry jam, delicious, aren't they, my dear? I call them the sex comet earrings. The sex comets, to heighten the senses and elevate the sensual moment, my dear. And I'm looking forward to wearing them for you, and for many gentlemen, I'm sure. But these were some vintage affairs, but only £2 or £3 each. I'm going to have to disinfect them first of all with some alcohol, my dear. But they are small chandeliers in green and gold, wonderful for spring season. Light catchers, that's what they are. Lovely colour, aren't they? And then here's the same affair, but with slightly larger stones in amber and marmalade. Playful facets, playful. And then larger again for these jetty beads on gold, full of drama. Quite serious, quite sombre. But they'll be handy to have next time someone dies. These were also from the high street, these ones, these crosses, which are quite delicious, aren't they? I love the colours. It's rather Madonna does Liberace. Fabulous blues from baby to midnight. I think they're fabulous. Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, but it's just my huge earrings jostling and jangling underneath my lug holes. A fun colourway, and actually they give me beachy vibes. Maybe I compare them with my bikini. And these ones feature a simple diamante outline of a heart, timeless, chic, displayed on Diana, Queen of Hearts. These plates, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 9 of these plates were £1 each going from a charity shop, £1 each. And the reason that I purchased them is because I'm going to be giving a rather fun party later on in the year, almost like a bad taste party, if you will. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of 80s paraphernalia thrown in there, and I'm going to serve some nibbles on these plates because I think they're just fantastic. They're hideously gorgeous, aren't they, my dear, if you know what I mean? Very kitsch, very tacky. Who buys these things? No offence, my dear, probably one or two of you want to do this sort of thing, but the only critic of art is taste, isn't it? What can I say? But someone buys them, someone snaps them all up, shockingly enough. But there is a sort of grim fascination with them for me, I have to say, going through them. We have the full wedding regalia there, with the dress looking a lot less creased than it did in real life, doesn't it? We have the People's Princess, we have Diana clutching a child, which I thought was very Meghan. Very Meghan. She'll be wanting in on this act, won't she? She'll want to be merching a few of these herself. Where's my plates? Where's my plates for the People's Princess? The true people of America's princess. I want a plate, Harry. I want a plate. And I'm going to sell it on American Riviera Orchard. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Disgusting thought. And there we have the high camp of the Elvis moment, if you will, with the upturned collar. One of her hugging William and Harry. If only she'd have known what sort of trouble was coming down the line there, she might not have looked quite so happy, mightn't she? But there she is hugging them and receiving a bouquet. So I thought it would be fun to A, use them at this party that I'm going to use them at, and B, show them off on the broadcast as well, in an upcoming broadcast. I'll get them out when you least expect it, my dear, said the actress to the bishop. And then when I'm done with them, I will redonate them to the charity shop so they can make somebody else happy. This was a sweet little find, a vintage jigsaw, but immediately my nose was put out of joint because someone had plastered sellotape, sticky tape over the late Queen's face, which was a stupid thing to do, wasn't it? How ridiculous, because you can't peel it off without peeling off the late Queen's face. Stupid. People are so thoughtless. I don't know if it was the shop or the previous owner. I think it was the previous owner because the tape looks old. I tried to give it a little tug, but I could see that it was going to rip off the face, so I've had to leave it there. But a lovely little jigsaw, and all of the parts were inside it. I did manage to put it all together rather quickly as well and had some fun. But this jigsaw is made in plywood by Victory of Bournemouth, their topical series, and Queen Elizabeth II is presented in white fur with yellow blooms. They didn't quite get the smile right, I don't think. It's a little bit too broad and a little bit too big, but they did very well. They did very well for the era. And what can I tell you? I just love the whimsy of it, my dear. I love the whimsy of it. Now, you'll have to tell me what this is called, because I call it the jewelled brow adorer, or the forehead adorer. I'm presuming that you plug it up in here and it dangles down on your forehead, but I could be wrong. Perhaps you could wear it dangling from somewhere else, like your pussy. I don't know, my dear. I'm talking about your pet cat, my dear, your pet cat. Ah, sweet mystery of life. The only book that I found this week was this gorgeous one by a fellow called Richard Krause, Portrait of a Forest. American photographer Richard Krause first came to England in 1975 to photograph the British countryside, and during this time he discovered the New Forest. The book follows the acclaimed publication of an English forest with 75 new pictures. The photographs journey through the cycle of 1 year, and all are taken at dawn. The collection of pictures speak for themselves without the need for text. And it's true, the entire thing, first published in 1986 by Constable and Company Limited. It's pictures, pictures, pictures all the way through. Wonderfully atmospheric, slightly gauzy and hazy, ambery, mellowy feel to all the photographs. And it's a sort of coffee table affair, really. And it's something beautiful to savour while you're having a morning break or a sip of a beverage, this kind of thing. And as you know by now, I'm a great lover and friend of trees, and I've shown you many books on trees in the subject, including the one of the late Queen's green canopy, didn't I, forward by the King, the new King, and lots of sections by various famous faces that we all know. And this is the same thing, but with an entirely different flavour, sort of retro taste to it, if you will. Very charming. And I'm going to allow you to enjoy some of the images and share them with you in a montage that I put together. And to begin with, I will read a poem over the top of it, if you'll indulge me. I wanted to do something on the theme of trees, but the first poem that came to my mind was a poem about a nightingale. But it involves trees, which is why it came to my mind, because the first line of the poem is involving the soundless cypress tree on the lawn that listens. It listens. It's about the listening powers of trees, because I've spoken to you before about my friends the trees, scattered all over the place, but mainly in London and in many of the royal parks actually. But they do listen, and they speak back to you if you listen as well, and I'm deadly serious about that. But yes, this is The Nightingale Near the House by Harold Munro, and I hope you get something out of it, because it's a poem that I learned in my early teens, and I like it. So I will leave you with it, and I will thank you for joining me. Do leave me a comment, let me know what you've been up to, and if you enjoyed the show, or if I made you smile, my tip jar is in the description box below, and I thank you most sincerely if you sent a tip my way. See you next time, my dears. Take care, and toodle pip. Here is the soundless cypress on the lawn. It listens, listens. Taller trees beyond listen. The moon at the unruffled pond stares, and you sing, you sing. That star-enchanted song falls through the air from lawn to lawn, down terraces of sound, darts in white arrows on the shadowed ground, and all the night you sing. My dreams are as flowers to which you are a bee, as all night long I listen and my brain receives your song, then loses it again in moonlight on the lawn. Now is your voice like marble, high and white, then like a mist on fields of paradise. Now is a raging fire, then is like ice, then breaks, and it is dawn.